gender-neutral dress codes, in defense of dressing up for air travel, and the latest fall trends are boring? Welcome to 3 more articles on the subject of dress. Hi everyone, Jennifer here. Welcome back to the Daily Connoisseur. I have another articles on dress video for you today where we're going to dissect some articles discussing the topic of dressing and looking presentable. And I have some really good ones for you today. Before we get into the articles on dress, I'd like to introduce the sponsor for today's video, which is American Blossom Linens. This is a wonderful small business. Janet is actually a daily connoisseur. She's read the blog for years and the Madame Chic books, and Janet is just wonderful. I featured her linens on the channel before. American Blossom Linens bedding is sustainable, it's ethical, made in America with 100% American organic cotton. It's environmentally friendly, pure, and chemical-free softness. There's no formaldehyde. Woven to last a lifetime, this bedding gets softer with every wash. It's generously sized to fit today's luxury beds. Deeper pockets plus the top or bottom labels make putting on fitted sheets and keeping them in place a total dream. I have the crib sheet for my son and it's just wonderful. It's my favorite baby sheet that we have. 4 pillowcases come with every queen and king set. So American Blossom Linens has been responsibly crafting their bedding by families manufacturing in the USA for over 115 years in Thomaston, which is a wonderful town in Middle Georgia. This is a business that has been created and run by women, and there's always free shipping and a 2-year risk-free trial. So I personally do own American Blossom linen sheets. Janet sent them to me and they are magnificent. Like I mentioned in my luxuries video, the quality is so good. You see it there. It's thick, hefty. This is not a flimsy sheet that's going to get a hole in it anytime soon. Use the code Jennifer20 for 20% off your first order. If you are a Daily Connoisseur watcher and you have a small business and you'd like to sponsor one of my videos, I give a big discount to small businesses. So definitely look at the contact form below for that. Okay, let's get into the articles on dress. Okay, so let's read about the first article on gender-neutral dress codes in school. It says, a Virginia public school district will have a gender-neutral dress code for the upcoming school year in a move that's being hailed by one school official as progressive, but not all residents agree. For the 2019-2020 school year, all Roanoke County public school students, regardless of gender, must now wear clothing that covers areas from one armpit across to the other armpit, down to approximately 3 to 4 inches in length on the upper thighs, and tops must have shoulder straps. The draft of the new dress code reads, the Roanoke County Public Schools respect students' rights to express themselves in the way they dress, adding that students are expected to respect the school community by dressing appropriately for a K-12 educational environment. Students who do not adhere to the new guidelines will not be allowed to attend class, and parents will be called if appropriate clothing is not available or refused by the student. Roanoke County Public Schools Superintendent Ken Nicely tells Yahoo Lifestyle, the district is committed to promoting a school and classroom climate in which all students have a sense of belonging and inclusiveness. Adopting a more gender-neutral dress code is an important part of helping us achieve that goal. So some parents are happy with the dress code, some of them are not. They just say, why don't you just give everybody uniforms and save the trouble of us trying to figure out this complicated dress code. Some parents say, is this what we're spending our time on? More time spent on anti-bullying and creative education would be more apt to what they would like. Another parent complained, because teachers' salaries and job security is less important than what my kid wears. Despite the criticism, 59% of parents in the school district approved the new dress code, according to a survey. I'm fascinated by dress codes. Now, you remember in one of my previous videos, we talked about the principal who instituted a dress code for the parents, not the children, right? So the parents needed to be told what to wear. Now, obviously, when a dress code is instituted, it's probably because violations have taken place. So certain students are wearing things that are distracting or maybe deemed as inappropriate. So a dress code has to be put into place. This is when a school does not have uniforms. Now, I think what the principal is trying to do, and I actually applaud him, is make this a gender neutral dress code for boys and girls, because oftentimes when a dress code is implemented, it focuses heavily on what the girls wear and not what the boys wear. And some people think that that is unfair. So I think that with this little diagram, which is quite funny, it's just a little person here. It says must have straps, and it shows what areas need to be covered and all of that. Well, there you go. I mean, I personally think that principals have a really hard job because they have to please so many people, so many different types of families, and no matter what, somebody's going to be unhappy. Think about that principal who did that dress code for parents. A lot of people were unhappy and a lot of people applauded her. So I feel like no matter what this principal does, he's going to get criticized. But I do think that this is actually wise because you know, just with the general climate of today's society, and I think that it's just good to say, listen, these parts need to be covered. I don't care if you're a boy or a girl, it needs to be covered. So hopefully there won't be any sagging trousers where you see underwear. That's something that happens with a lot of men, young men. With girls, maybe some girls were wearing tube tops and no, you know, I don't know, that could be distracting as well. So they have to have straps. And then it's just showing what needs to be covered. Obviously, maybe there were some crop top violations and tummies were on display. I don't know. So I would love to know what you think about the gender neutral dress code. I actually think uniforms might be easier, but some people really don't like uniforms. They want to express their true style. So I think that he's trying to really work with these people in the school and say, listen, you can still express your true style, but you need to be covered up in a professional manner for learning. So I would love to know what you think about the gender neutral dress codes. Okay, next comes to us an article from Slate, and it's actually a few years old, but I wanted to discuss it because this is a topic that comes up frequently on the channel. An article by J. Brian Lauder that says, take a one-way trip from tatty to natty in defense of looking nice for your flight or train ride. So let's see what he has to say about dressing well for travel. Okay, on evenings before I travel, it is my custom to set out the following day's clothes on my bedroom chair. I do this in tandem with packing my suitcase, attending as much to the details of my travel costume as to the items being curated for use later in the trip. However, the primary reason I make the extra effort to plan my travel outfit is because, well, no one else does. Among the cavalcade of pajama pants, tracksuits, nightgowns, painting rags, and ill-fitting sweatshirts that one encounters in the world's terminals and stations these days, the competently dressed individual stands apart as a beacon of civilized life, an island of class amid a swamp of schlumps. I like this person. By dressing myself as a decent human being who is aware that he is in public, I like to think I'm performing a small act of resistance against the increasingly slobbish status quo. Having just faced this onslaught of sartorial neglect yet again on an overseas trip, I'm pleading with you, join me, dress decently when you travel. 7 hours to Madrid in La Clase Turista is trying enough without your mangy old t-shirt adding to the sensory assault. Okay, so you know where I stand. I'm totally with this author here. I know how hard long haul flights in particular can be. I've taken a lot of them in my lifetime, but it's still worth it to try your best to dress well for air travel. He's absolutely right, I think, that we should dress up for air travel. And in my experience, I've traveled to a lot of different countries, and guess which country I traveled to where the travelers, the native travelers, were dressed the best. Can you guess? Italy. Yes, Italy. Actually, not even France, but Italy. I remember when I flew to Italy, and I've been there twice. The second time I went with Ben early on in our marriage, and I just remember flying there, getting off the plane, and seeing the locals. They were speaking Italian, so I knew that they were the locals. And the men and the women were dressed so beautifully. I mean, I remember the men were in like really buttery loafers, and they had these button-down shirts. Everything was ironed, and the sweater over their shoulder, and the ladies were beautifully dressed as well. Italy. That's where people really looked presentable, and that's what I remember. I've also told the story about 2 years ago when we were in Portugal, and I saw an elderly couple at the airport, man and woman, and they were just dressed impeccably. Not fancy, but just beautifully groomed and beautifully dressed. They still looked comfortable. And I love his quote that says, let's see if I can find it. I love his quote where he says, "The competently dressed individual stands apart as a beacon of civilized life, an island of class amid a swamp of schlumps." This is brilliant. I love that. Yes, that's what we should strive to do, is to stand out as a beacon of civilized life. Let's not let ourselves go with air travel. I know that so many of you agree with this. Now, with modern fashion, you can wear clothes that are presentable and comfortable. I used to love to wear my Loft fluid ankle pants, which I have no more. Those were great to wear on air travel. They were those baggy, silky looking trousers in black, and they were perfect. They felt like I was wearing pajamas, but yet they still looked presentable. So if you can find travel gear that looks beautiful, but you can travel well in, that's just a win in my book. I'd love to know what you think about that article. And now the last article. This is from Who What Wear, and it just was released. It's called "The Boring Trend That Will Dominate This Fall." So it's talking about the fall fashion trends coming up. Bourgeoisie, a French word that by definition refers to members of the middle class. Of course, like many things, it doesn't stop there. As you may know, the term has a place both in Marxism and the long history of fashion, the latter of which I'd like to focus on today. The trend for fall is bourgeoisie dressing. This trend, which Vogue succinctly described as separate space dressing that celebrates personal taste over a single must-have item, and see our fashion book recently defined as an elevated take on minimalist dressing, was everywhere on the runway. It marked a symbolic shift from frivolous to feel-good fashion, and alongside Celine, countless brands from emerging to established subscribe to this new wave of style for the season ahead. Nobody is abandoning the party dresses or occasional it shoe anytime soon, but there's a clear-cut shift from statement looks to refined separates for everyday dressing. That includes, but isn't limited to, skirts, suiting, heritage prints such as plaid and tartan, refined ruffles, button-down shirts, and overcoats. Which brings me to the other B word of this story. The first B word was bourgeoisie, the next B word, boring. There's no denying that all of the above descriptions of bourgeoisie dressing are a far cry from much of what we've seen over the last several years, both on the runways and in street style, where it seemed like it items, no matter how outrageous, were the keys to sartorial and financial success all around. Okay, so this is so funny because I'm looking at these pieces, and finally, I feel like I have been totally alienated from the runways. You probably feel like this too, most people watching. I just feel like I've looked at the runways for the past several years and I have just completely written them off because the trends are just so outrageous. They're just pushing limits. The average woman is not going to wear most of these trends, right? The average woman is a mother, or she's working, or she's just got a very busy, complicated life, and she's not going to be wearing these ridiculous fashion trends, right? So I'm looking at these styles here and I love them. I mean, I think that this is beautiful. So I guess I'm boring, right? I think that sometimes these fashion editors and authors and style tastemakers are living in their own bubble, and they don't realize that most women all around the world don't have that crazy it wardrobe. We don't have that. We don't have the money, first of all, to buy these things. But second of all, women just want to look beautiful. At the end of the day, we just want to look good, right? Most women just do. And that doesn't require some outrageous trend. It just requires just realism in whatever style it is that you adhere to. So I'm looking at these fall fashion trends and I actually really like them. Take, for example, let's look at this first one here. This is from the Celine runway. I love that long brown plaid skirt with the high boots and the blazer and the scarf. I mean, I think she looks fabulous. So I guess the fashion world is calling this boring. Check out this one from Mango. This is a checked midi skirt with the sweater and the boots. I think that it looks good. I don't see any problem here. I'm actually really excited to put together my fall wardrobe because I had the baby and I was sort of out of commission for 2 years, I need a lot of pieces for my fall 10-item wardrobe this year. So I'm excited that the trends are actually something that I can appreciate because it's just regular everyday dressing. I think that this look is classy and refined and I applaud it. So I guess I'm boring, right? What do you think? Do you like this bourgeoisie, boring dress trend that's coming up this fall? I would love to hear your comments down below. I hope that you enjoyed today's video with 3 more articles on the subject of dress. I would like to thank American Blossom Linens again for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to use the code Jennifer20 for 20% off your first order with American Blossom Linens. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Daily Connoisseur, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!